California is well known for many things: a booming agriculture industry, Silicon Valley dreams, Hollywood stars, golden sunsets, and mass incarceration. The last item on that list might be a surprise for some, but nearly 100,000 Californians are currently behind bars. That's second most in the country, right behind Texas. And for many of these Californians, their future after release looks bleak. Now imagine a world where soon-to-be released inmates have a brighter future ahead of them, where second chances are abundant, personal support is readily available, and barriers to education and self-improvement are removed. I'm Frankie Tovar, your host for this episode of the Stanislaus State EduCast, and today we're focusing on a program that's made that world a reality, Project Rebound. Born out of the vision of Dr. John Irwin, Project Rebound was established at San Francisco State University in 1967 to help matriculate formerly incarcerated individuals into the CSU system. 57 years later, and Project Rebound is now established on 14 CSU campuses, including Stan State. The program has proven to be wildly successful. In the past 10 years, Project Rebound students have earned an overall 3.0 GPA and have a 0% recidivism rate. Compare those numbers to the recidivism rate of 42% for all of California, and the program's efficacy becomes clear. But how was Project Rebound established here at Stan State? And how exactly is it helping former inmates integrate into academia? Well, today's guest has all those answers and more. Her name is Danica Bravo, Program Coordinator of Stan State's Project Rebound. So we'll get right down to it. What is the mission statement or main goal of Project Rebound?
The main goal for Project Rebound is to truly provide a community for our students. They have faced a lot of traumas and barriers in their lives. So the one thing that we want them to have is an easy transition to the university and have the support and services they need to be successful in their academic pursuit.
And how do you go about doing that? What are some of the support systems, resource services you provide to these students?
Gosh, there's so many things that we do provide for them. If we were to reflect and start right at the beginning, that admissions application can take 3 to 4 hours. As a transfer student, you're literally entering every single class you've ever taken into this application. The application is just overwhelming in general, so providing that support at the very beginning. And then navigating like the process, like new student orientation and how to register for classes and showing them where their classes are. If they choose online because maybe they're a full-time worker, then showing them where to access their classes online. So that support there. As far as services, I mean, we do receive a grant through the state of California, and we're able to provide additional support for them, providing them with a participation grant, and that can help them with textbooks and whatever personal bills that they have. So it's really like a wraparound service that we provide for them.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot of work. I would say per student's like at least 10 to 20 hours at the very beginning with each student that we enroll of services of one-on-one time.
I would imagine it takes a village to do this, right? So what are some of the campus entities you collaborate with here at Stan State?
Yeah, so it does take a village. I would say working with admissions at the very beginning, they're such a big help because sometimes there's various holds on their account or, the transcripts are sent in and then we need them to search for them to clear the student's account, the student portal account. Once the student starts, we always promote CAPS, which is the psychological counseling department. And it's important because sometimes, these individuals have never thought about counseling. I think in general, a lot of people just don't think that they need therapy or counseling. But I always tell them at the beginning, we have this service. It's embedded with the tuition. It's available to you. You don't have to come out straight out of pocket to pay like a copay or something. And I encourage them to schedule an appointment. I say, even if you think you don't need it, I guarantee some things will come up, and then you can start a new healing process. Also, a lot of our students struggle financially. We have the emergency grant, and that's just helpful to any student, but students that come right out of incarceration, that have families that's starting from nothing, and they can actually use that service. So yeah, we do partner up with a lot of different departments. And I want to add one more too. For the students that are already like enrolled or starting enrollment or getting close to graduation, having that connection with academic advising is crucial. So that way they know what classes they're taking. They're not taking the wrong classes or anything like that.
Yeah, and just listening to you talk about the program, it's obvious you're very passionate about Project Rebound. What drew you to the program?
I would say my lived experience. I was raised in Stockton, specifically the south side of Stockton. The south side of Stockton is known for drug and gang affiliation. And although my mom did her very best to keep us away from that, once we hit middle and high school, it was very challenging not to associate with people like that. I would say the one thing that connected, I'm going to speak for myself, that connected me to folks like that is the shared experiences and situations from home. There were underprivileged single parent households. There was incarceration, just a lot of barriers, and we could connect. And it was very hard to connect with people who didn't have that. Even though we were in that neighborhood, there were still a lot of students that had their parents married and together and had that support. And even if you grow up in poverty, if you still have your two parents, that right there, it's like a strong household, right? You have your two parents to rely on. But a lot of the friends that I had at that time did not. And it was all single parent household. And so right there, there's that commonality that we shared. And then so once we became teenagers, my siblings and I, my older brother went to prison at the age of 17. He's 3 years old. He was 3 years older than me. And then my younger brother was a year younger than me, and he went to juvenile hall. And so they spent a significant time incarcerated. And back then, and this is the 90s, there was like no resources out there at all. And so as I got older and they're still both serving time, I'm thinking to myself, like, I have to do something. And that's kind of how this came about. And I could share more later.
Yeah, share some more right now, actually.
Definitely.
What were some of the things you did for them?
So growing up, they both had kids at a young age. They both have, my older brother has 4 kids. My younger brother has 3 kids. So one of the things was fulfilling the gap. I didn't want them to feel what I felt, losing my father at a young age. I wanted to kind of fulfill that role. So providing them a lot of support, their children, school clothes. My mom and I helped pay for their school clothes every single year. Their birthdays, getting them I purchased all their first bikes, their first scooters. Just like when they were little, I just didn't want them to be without. And even though I was only doing what I thought was best at that time, I didn't know anything else. So I was thinking buying them things could help and fulfill that emptiness that they were having. In addition to that, just sending money to my siblings and also purchasing their packages. That's also really, really expensive. And then visits. So those were the only, and letters and pictures. Those are the only ways that I knew how to support. And again, I wish there were more resources back then. It's completely different now. There's so many community organizations that support the formerly incarcerated population. They have lots of different resources out there now.
And so did that put you on your path that you're on now immediately, or did it take some time for you to figure out that's what you wanted to do with your life?
Yeah, it definitely took some time. At certain points of my life, I was kind of just coping, hanging in there, like just doing the best I can, working a lot. And I just felt like education for me wasn't available, because when I did try it out, I failed my first semester out of high school. And I just thought, I'm just going to focus on work. It was just hard to navigate because, to be honest, it's not the process that isn't the easiest. In a community college, a university, wherever you go, it's just so much to do and learn. And because that was foreign to me, I didn't have a mentor or support system that can kind of walk me through the process. So it wasn't until later in life when I had my son and I was determined to give him a better life. And I just said, I'm going to college and I am going to find out every little thing I can about college. So I also thought to myself, the best way that I can learn the ins and outs of college is to find a job on campus. And so I overall have been working in higher education for 14 years now. And I did start at a lower level position, which I actually am very thankful I did, because that's why I know so much about transcripts, about the admissions process, because I was that person behind the scenes, like processing these applications, the paperwork, transcripts. Like I processed admissions applications at Delta College when I worked there, and also transcripts, and then various petitions as well. So, I worked in a lot of different departments and then ended up growing from there. And then in 2014, I decided to pursue college, and I worked at Delta College. I thought to myself, you know what, I'm gonna go into the counselor's office and I'm gonna tell them they need to tell me everything I need to know. Like I cannot walk out of here without knowing the details. Like I need to know what I'm doing. And so I graduated with my associate degree from Delta. Actually had multiple, and I did that in 2015, and then in 2018 I graduated with my bachelor's here at Stanislaus State with social science, and then my master's in counseling with the professional clinical counseling in 2023. Yeah, so that's kind of what molded me into where I'm at today.
Quite the journey.
It has been.
So you graduated with your bachelor's in 2018, and by 2019, you're named program coordinator of Project Rebound. What did that feel like when you were named program coordinator?
Well, I'll back up a little bit. So when I was working at Delta College in 2015, I was really determined to figure out how I was going to support my brothers. I wanted to get them out. I wanted to provide services, but not only for them, but for the community. Mind you, because I grew up with a lot of people who are either no longer here or they're incarcerated. So I just was on a mission to create something that can support them. So I remember sitting at my desk at Delta College in 2015 thinking, why not create a program for those who are formerly incarcerated on campus? And I was just sitting there and it just came to mind. And then so I started doing research. So I compiled a report and I requested a meeting with my boss, and I presented it to her, and she loved it. And she said, let's move forward. I don't know how we can do this, but let's do it. And so as they started moving forward with the process, they identified key people on the campus that they wanted to be a part of that. And then I was also included. I did come up with the idea. And then in 2016, the community college chancellor's office put throughout like an initiative to support community colleges. So there wasn't funding there quite yet, but a lot of community colleges started getting on board with that. And at the time, I was told that there was no funding for it, so I still had to fulfill my role. And that if I wanted to do anything like this, it'd kind of be on my free time. I was a little disappointed because at that point, it already had been a year and a half. And at that point, I already had serviced over 100 current students on campus that were formerly incarcerated, in addition to my full-time job. It was a lot of work. And so I was sharing this with a friend, and I was sharing my frustrations with a friend. And 2 days later, she sent me an email saying, hey, there's a Project Rebound coordinator position at Stanislaus State. And everything you're doing is like in the job description, you have to apply for this. And I thought, oh my gosh, like what an amazing opportunity. This is what I've been asking for. Like I'm over here being not promised, like, hey, we don't know when we're going to get funding. So I applied. I knew that I was going to be going up against people that had master's or doctorate degrees at that time, and I only had a bachelor's degree. So I had always been private about my life and my situation. Not very many people in my work environment, my peers, my colleagues, didn't even know that I had siblings, let alone siblings that were still currently incarcerated. So I knew in this interview that I had to be transparent. And I knew that I had to stand out differently from everyone else. And so one of the things that I did say in my interview and that I shared in my interview was that you're sitting in front of someone who has been brought up from nothing. And here I am sitting in front of you with a bachelor's degree. But I also have lived experience. And I do plan on getting a master's. I do plan on getting a doctorate. However, I'm not there yet. So I hope that when you make your decision, it is not based on who has the highest level of degree. You have to account for lived experience as well. Because if you hire someone in here that does not know the demographic, they don't understand the demographic, then you might have some major challenges. I can tell you someone can, and this is what I told them. I said, someone could walk in here with a suit and you guys would never know that they were incarcerated before, but I would know. I would know by just the way they walk, the way they hold themselves, just by looking at them, because I have been around it my entire life. And so I think those things help sharing that. And I said, I'm sitting in front of him. I have no siblings out right now. They're all incarcerated. And I know what that's like. And I've been through it all these years. I've been visiting prisons since I was 15 years old, consistently, not like, oh, a year here, a year there. No, we're like really supportive. I mean, sometimes it was every week that we were spending our weekends there, our holidays there. I felt confident in the interview. I was excited for the opportunity. I had been waiting for the opportunity to open up to me. And it's been a huge blessing. July will be 5 years. 5 years.
Wow, that's a long time, it seems like, huh?
Yeah.
Or did it fly by for you?
Yes and no. Yes and no. There's been a lot going on within that 5 years.
Okay, well, let's go back to the beginning. Your first year, when you first started here at Stan State as the program coordinator, how many students did you have in the program?
Yeah, so within the first couple months, I had to do a lot of in-reach, right? Also outreach, but a lot of in-reach. And I was able to find, within the first 4 months, I would say, I found 3 students. And then once we had 3 students, I was able to hire 2 of them as a student assistant to provide that extra support in terms of, can you walk this student over here, show them where that's at? Or, would you like to come and do a presentation with me? Just to, start doing that in-reach and outreach and having them being able to have a voice as well and share their story. And then after that, COVID hit. It was so quick because we were just like laying out that foundation, But the oddest thing is that even during COVID, we were flourishing. It was a lot of work on Zoom. It was a lot of work to even get someone to get on Zoom because they didn't know how to get on Zoom. They're just fresh out of the prison. They didn't know what to do. So it's like, okay, do you see a blue link here? Look toward your right. Like, I can't see what they're seeing. We're on the phone. And it's like a lot of like, keep looking on to the right, And then finally they were able to obviously jump on a Zoom. And then I'm like, okay, share, like, give me access, or I'll give them access. I could take over, and then show them and help them. It's been a journey. Okay,
now year 5, how many students are in the program now?
Oh my gosh. So right now we have 56 students that are in class, registered this semester. However, altogether matriculated, we have 76. So we have, and I'm glad you brought that up, because we have about 30 students on a break. And, each student is not just, oh, I just need a break because I'm busy. No, it's like, look, I just had my 3rd baby. I lost my mom. Major life events that it's like, yeah, no, I get it. Like, I support you. Let me know how I can help you when you're ready to come back. But when I say matriculated, because that was part of that 10 to 20 hour process where you sit down with them and work on an admissions application. You get them through NSO, you get them to show up, you get them to, like, we have to register and I have to do all these forms to get their fee paid. And at that time. And it was just a lot of work in general, getting any holds on their account. It's a lot of work. So yes, I do say we have 76 students in the program when people ask, but as of right now, we have 56 that are actually registered, which is, I mean, a huge number. And also I want to say this, our numbers match one of the bigger cities out in LA, okay, where there's like, I mean, triple probably the population, right? And I mean, I was questioned at a conference in Atlanta, Georgia in November. How in the heck do you have 56 students? That's what I have 50, in my program. And I'm like, and it's another Project Rebound program. I'm like, I know. And we're considered a commuter campus. So yeah, I'm very proud of that number. I'm proud because it has been a lot of work, and I'm going to also say this, these are not things that I can get done in a 40-hour week. I spend a lot of time in the evenings, and my students can attest to this, on the weekends, just providing that extra support for them. If I don't, it's just going to linger over to the following week and then the following week. And it's like, you know what? And then also they're in distress. So why would I if I could just jump on a quick call or a quick Zoom and address the issue. But yeah.
I would imagine seeing these students graduate makes all that extra work worth it.
You know what? Yeah. I would say last May, I graduated last May, but it was still about them. I showed up to all of their graduations. I was there. I took photos. I took videos of them. Created this really cool reel on Instagram for them, and they all really loved it too. They're like, that was so cool. I'm like, yeah, that took me hours. I'm just not a pro at those things, but it took me hours to make. It was so exciting to see that, especially we had so many graduates. I'm going blank now, but I think there was over 10 graduates in May, and this May will be our biggest one. I think we have over 16. It's very exciting. It's emotional too at the same time, and very rewarding. It's like, yes, finally. But in the program now, I believe we have, as of today, not including May, right? This coming May, we have, I think, 19 graduates total. So this is going to bump our number up, I think, to over 30, which is amazing. It's truly amazing.
Are there any specific stories, individual success stories that you want to share?
One that comes to mind is my student, Henry Romero, former student, because he's not a student anymore, but he graduated in May of 2023. And I found out that, think about this. So in 2023, I received an email from Delta College. Do you have any graduates that would be good to help develop the formerly incarcerated program here? So think about when I mentioned I was trying to do this in 2015, 16, 17, even during 18. So I'm still doing all this work. Okay. And they're barely getting funding to really truly support the initiative, right? To have a point person for that. So 2022, I received an email asking if I have a student that has graduated that would be interested in this. And I forwarded it to Henry. I'm like, you better apply, you better. And I didn't get a response from him. 2 days passed, and I was like, I'm going to call him up. I'm calling him up. So I called him up, and he answered. And I was like, why haven't you responded to my email? And he's like, I don't know. I don't know if he was feeling discouraged. I'm not sure. But I was like, no, you don't understand. This is a great opportunity. And kind of nagged at him, you got to apply. And so he applied and he got the job. He's doing amazing. I was just sharing with him last week. We were talking for over an hour. And I was like, I am so beyond proud of you. You literally can build a program from scratch. You did that. There was no flyers. There's no information on the website. There's you did all of that, Instagram, everything. He's just this point person providing the services, and he's just doing an amazing job. And I'm really proud of him. And that is one person that I'll always brag about.
Absolutely. Anybody else? I mean, it sounds like you have a lot of students that have come through your doors.
Yeah, definitely. So there is another student that I'm really proud of, Richard Stokel. Richard, we started our relationship while he was still incarcerated. So one thing we haven't talked about, you and I, is the mail that I receive. I receive a ton of mail on a daily basis. And Richard started writing a couple years ago. And so I know we corresponded, I would say probably for about maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years. I did apply for him on his behalf. So it was a lot of transcript evaluation, and we had to work together collectively. You know, hey, here's what I need. I need all your information, but I also need your transcripts. I need this, I need that. So he followed through on his end too. So he put the work in on his end. He was able to get admitted before he even was released. So he has this admissions letter while he was incarcerated, which I have quite a few students that has experienced that are now in part of the program. But now he works full time for a nonprofit organization. So he does a lot of community work, and he works full time, so he's still trying to navigate school. He's like so close to graduating. I think he has like one semester left, and he has a daughter, and like she's, I think, a year, maybe going to be a year old or just turned a year old. And it's just like he has so much going on, but he's still pushing. You know, I recently seen Instagram post from him literally doing what I'm doing right now, doing a podcast. So he was a guest speaker on a podcast. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of him. He was recently asked to go, I think he said it was Jay Leno or out in LA had asked him to come share his story, and everything was fully paid for. And I was just like, wow, awesome. Like, I'm so proud of him and excited for him. But yeah, there's so many success stories. There's so many success stories, but those are the two that I want to highlight and share.
Yeah, in addition to the podcast, I also produce videos on campus, and we actually spoke with Richard for part of a video series of Project Rebound.
Absolutely.
And he shared a lot of his story, and he had a great story. So anybody out there listening, if you're interested, I would encourage you to go to the Stanislaus State YouTube channel and type in Project Rebound and, check out those videos.
Yeah, definitely.
And your story's there as well, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So you can see the face to the voice right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, when Richard or anybody else who enters the program, when they come from prison and they try to enter academia, what are some of the roadblocks they encounter?
Yeah, there's so many roadblocks. I'm going to emphasize again, just navigating everything. They cannot, it's just too much. Even a regular student out of high school that was born into technology, it is just too much to navigate that. But also I get a lot of folks writing in about housing. You know, they're wanting to relocate to this area. It's just more of a relaxed area. They want to get away from where their crime was committed. They want to start fresh. They want to give back to the community. They want to be successful. So the housing piece is a barrier financially, like finding a job. Like, it is not easy to find a job with a record. So that's also a barrier. And just getting support, like if they're relocating, they don't know anybody here, just getting the support that they need. And we become their family. We are their family. And so usually when people get out, like they're fresh out, I'll kind of call a couple folks. Hey, I have a new guy coming. He's going to be here around this time. We're going to do his admissions application. Can you guys be in the office? So that way they can have a warm welcome and they feel comfortable and they can chat for a bit. So we all kind of sit in our student lounge and we just chat for a little while and to make them feel more comfortable. And then we get to business. And
you shared a little bit about the services to get them started here at Stan State. What about programs and initiatives within Project Rebound when they're already established students?
Oh gosh, yeah, there's a lot of different things that we do. This week, I've been working on providing a professional development workshop. So I have 2 workshops that are going to be held in April, and we have a business owner that is willing to kind of facilitate and present his successes in running this $1 million business that he created from scratch. One of the things that drew this gentleman to Project Rebound was that he actually hires formerly incarcerated for his business. So he reached out and said, hey, is there an opportunity to mentor? And I'm like, let's actually meet up. You know, right away, my mind's thinking elsewhere. So we learned a little bit more about each other. And then finally, I just asked him, I said, my idea is a little bit different. What if we create a workshop for them? You interview folks, you run this amazing business, you started it from scratch, it's very successful. And I mean, with money management, all these different things come to mind. He was like, yeah, I'd love that. So we have 2 workshops. It's exclusive to Project Rebound students. And he said one of the things that he's like, I'm really eager to share how to discuss in an interview the gap on the resume. Like, a lot of people don't know what to say. He's like, I hire formerly incarcerated, so I can help, I could coach, and but also the money management piece and how to reserve and how to invest and things like that, and then also how to run a successful business. So he's broken those up into 2 workshops. I did mention we have quite a few graduates. We have like over 16, I believe, total this year. So we do have a statewide graduation, all Project Rebound to get together. Let me tell you, it is a party, not a party, a party. And it's just really fun. We get together in San Francisco. That's where Project Rebound originated, San Francisco State University. So we get together there at the university. So they rent a space, catered food, music, I mean, everything. And we could bring our families, and it's truly amazing. So we have that. And then we do have like a private dinner for our graduates, and they're allowed to bring some family members. And we usually host at a restaurant. Christmas is big for me. I love Christmas. Since I started and since we've, received the grant back in 2021, we've had our holiday dinner, and we've always had it at a restaurant, which has been really nice. I don't know how long we get to do that, because it's just expanding the the student population, but we do that as well. Another thing that we do is I like to invite students to do presentations. So, for example, last week we had a faculty member reach out, and they said they're covering a chapter in the book of Incarceration, and would like to come speak to the class. And I always send out like an email, who's interested in sharing their story. Maybe I'll get one person, or maybe I'm asking one, please, can you just come? I had 5 students show up. And so we took up the entire class. We actually went a little over, and I was like, I think we went over, we got to go, but so those are some of the initiatives that we have. There's a lot of different things that we try to do for the students and be very inclusive.
You and your students also travel the country for conferences, right? Yeah,
I was just going to share, and conferences too. So we've gone to New York, we've gone to Atlanta, Georgia, Denver, Colorado, San Diego, LA multiple times. It's been truly amazing. I try to take at least 2 students with me, try to take different students as well, so they could, try to get that opportunity. The last conference that we had attended was last month in LA, and it was at the Project Rebound, Cal State LA. So it was really cool. They got to meet other Project Rebound students. I try to pick locations where there's going to be other Project Rebound students. So also, we do partner with a lot of organizations. I would say heavily in Stockton. I feel like Stanislaus County is not there yet. Stockton, oh my God, it's like the hub of resources, I feel like, in the Central Valley. There's so many. We have events all the time. We have monthly meetings. I would say for like Stanislaus County and San Joaquin County, one thing that is common is it's called the PACT meeting, PACT, which is the Parole and Community Team meeting, where community providers get together at the parole office, and anybody who is paroled that particular month is mandated to go so they can get resources. So it's kind of like, they mandate them to go. So it's like, hey, no, you're going to learn about these resources. These are some great opportunities. But I would say there's no comparison to San Joaquin County. We've been doing it for like over 10 years. I mean, a long time, heavily. There's so many community providers that show up. Stanislaus County is getting there. Like, I think at the PAC meetings there, I would see like maybe 5 community partners altogether, whereas San Joaquin is like 10 or more probably. And there's just like triple the amount of parolees. I personally don't like to call them parolees, but that's what they call them at the PAC meetings. I just say formerly incarcerated that show up to the PAC meetings. So there's usually like triple the amount that show up there.
You shared a lot of stories about successes.
Yes.
But on paper, when it comes to numbers and figures, how do you measure success?
Yeah, success is measured. I mean, we would do reporting quarterly and annually statewide. So the last report came out last year, and it was a 1% recidivism rate. And that's truly amazing. And that's with education. So imagine if you don't have that education piece, because with education, you have all the resources within the program. on the campus community and then in the community. So it's like really holistic. We try to give that wraparound service to help remove any barriers and set them up for success and try to help them as much as possible.
So a lot of short-term success for you so far in the first 5 years. What are some of the long-term goals you have in mind, though?
Some of the long-term goals that I have for Project Rebound, I would like to build a team. I would like to get some funding to where we're not having to manage the grant with a fine comb, right? I would like to get a team to offer like more support and services for the students. My efforts can be on so many other things. Students are important, so I typically drop what I'm doing to help them, right? But I do, like, other Project Rebound programs have like at least 3 to 5 people on their team. It's just me and Anthony, but Anthony has been out for some time for personal reasons. And so it's like the burden has fallen on me. So it's like I'm spread so thin. But even regardless of being spread so thin or not, when you have a solid team that is focused on certain things, for example, some campuses have someone focused strictly on the mail because that's how much mail we get. I'm doing all the mail and I'm doing the transcript evaluations. I'm responding to all of them, collecting transcripts, doing all these things, guiding them on exactly what they need to do. And everyone's situation's so different. I would like to see a team of 3 to 5, in the next few years. I would like to see more funding for the program. Right now, we receive about $175,000 a year. So whenever I do get that little bit of free time, I try to look out for additional grants. It would be nice to have that support for the students, but not only for the students, for me as well. The last thing that I ever want to do is become burned out, and then I'm no good to nobody if I'm burned out. But also, and not to toot my own horn, but I'm so knowledgeable because of all the different roles that I've had within the community college here at Stanislaus State, to be able to share that information with a team of people so that everybody knows what to do. Like if someone needed to fulfill another person's role and review transcripts, if someone, need to help a student in crisis, where do you start with that, instead of panicking and walking? Because sometimes you could walk them to CAPS, and yeah, they could help with the mental health piece, but actually getting the resources in the community as well is key. Sometimes they have a house open with a bed and then we can put them right in there and there's no barrier. They don't have to jump through hoops. But at the same time, we have that resources here on campus as well. So that's where you have to go into kind of that knowledge, have that background knowledge, what is going to be best for the student. And just knowing the student really well, too, that takes time. And I have put in all that time to get to know the students and their situations. So I'm not going to put a student here on campus if I know that living at another place because they have children is going to work better, right? Nobody wants to be ripped away from their children. You cannot have children here on campus. So sorry for the long drawn out answer, but that's the stuff that we're dealing with here, right?
If there are people listening right now, if our audience wants to help support you and Project Rebound, how can they do that?
Oh, there's so many different ways. Okay, so the first thing is we do have this amazing button on our Project Rebound website that says donate. So if you're, feeling in your heart that you want to donate, you could donate some money. But if you don't have the money to donate, you can reach out to me and, we can have a meeting to see what type of services that you want to offer. Are you looking to be a mentor to a student? So I get that a lot. Hey, I have experience with X, Y, and Z. Let your students know if they, need a mentor, or I'm just graduated from the criminal justice program. I know it the in and outs. I'd love to help out with any of your criminal justice students, just different things like that. I think having a meeting first so we can get to know what your expertise is in. Also, just recently, I've been working on this this for like over a year, but I developed an affinity group, and it's called JIA, J-I-A, Justice Impacted Advocates. So anybody, it could be faculty, staff, students interested in being a part of this affinity group, that would be a great way. I haven't even had the first meeting yet. The website was just launched. I have a meeting coming up with the person in charge to kind of further discuss, like, okay, how should I facilitate our first meeting? How should I send an email out to campus-wide to let everyone know? And with this, I think we can discuss different things. Like, my ideas are having a book club, creating shirts, discussing different barriers, who has what type of expertise, and what can they contribute, to the group and to the student population here on campus. So that was something that was important. It's actually been on my bucket list since I started, and I'm barely getting to it. So as you can see, I've been busy.
And if there are any incarcerated or formerly incarcerated individuals listening and they have academic aspirations, but they might be unsure or wary or doubtful, what would your message be to them right now?
Honestly, if I can do it, you can do it. If our students can do it, you can do it. Don't let it intimidate you. We'll start off with our meeting so that way I can address any concerns and questions that you have. We'll take it step by step. And I mean, I've had someone reach out to me when I worked at Delta College. He didn't even have a GED, and now he's almost graduated with his bachelor's. So, and he missed all of high school. I missed a lot of high school, to be quite honest with you. And here I am sitting in front of you running a program for formerly incarcerated that I developed. I have my master's with an extra year of a credential on top. So it was like, it went from a 2-year to a 3-year master's program. And I'm a professor at Delta College for the Administration of Justice Department. And let me tell you, that was the hardest interview I've ever had in my life. They had the hardest. I've never been grilled like that before. And even with the Project Rebound, I had 11 people on my committee, 11. The first one was a phone call. The second one was 9 people in person. And then obviously the third one was the provost and then the campus president. I say that to say, if I could do it, you could do it. If our students can do it, you can do it. And don't let anything hold you back. And we're here to support. And then we'll walk with you the whole way through.
Danica, this has been a wonderful conversation. Before we end the podcast, is there anything else you'd like to share that we didn't cover?
No, I think we covered a lot. And I really thank you for the opportunity and the platform. I feel like I've worked really hard over the last 5 years to get the word out. And anytime opportunities like this come around, I'm greatly appreciative of them, because it's not another avenue to get the word out. It's another avenue to share with the campus community that this is out here. I mean, like, we did a presentation last week in one of the faculty members' class, and when I asked, have you guys ever heard of Project Rebound, we had one person raise their hand out of the whole class. So I think it's going to be an ongoing effort to continue to spread the word. But other than that, no, I'm really grateful for the opportunity.
Thank you for joining the EduCast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Stan State EduCast. This podcast was recorded on the campus of Stanislaus State in the KCSS studio. If you enjoyed this episode and want to listen to past episodes, follow and subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform. You can also find this podcast along with other Stan State podcasts if you visit www.csustan.edu/podcast. Until our next episode, I'm Frankie Tovar. Have a wonderful day.